So, in today's segment of What's the Pop in Pop Culture, we will be talking about the movie The Woman King. And if there was a checklist for wokeism, the movie would be checkmarking these categories. Feminism. It has a leading female character. Abortion. The leading character was raped and forced to give birth, and being a strong female, she gave up the kid. Critical race theory. Slavery is bad and it's white people's fault. Representation. All black characters were played by black people. LGBTQ+. I'm sure they found some way of fitting it into this movie. But let's talk about the plot, huh? In the Western African kingdom of Dahomey, in 1823, General Nanisika, I think that's how you say her name, leader of an all-female group of warriors, the Agoji, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing these names, liberated Dahomey women who were abducted by slavers. The women warriors defeat the European slavers and the enemy tribe, and as a bonus, they free other captive slaves. Then, the leading female character gets crowned the Woman King. So let's look at this poster here real quick, huh? As we can see, it says based on true events. So that to me means it's a historical retelling, with some liberties taken, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth, because if this was an actual historical retelling, the Dahomey tribe would not be fighting a battle to free captive slaves, but to steal captive slaves so they can sell them themselves. And if we look at the most trusted news source on the internet, Wikipedia says, role in slavery. Historical Dahomey was a kingdom that conquered other African states and enslaved their citizens to sell in the Atlantic slave trade. And most of the kingdom's wealth was derived from slavery. The Agoji had a history of participating in slave raiding, and slavery in Dahomey persisted after the British Empire stopped Dahomey from continuing in the Atlantic slave trade. In the film setting of the 1820s, Nanisika confronts Gizo about the immorality of selling Dahomey slaves to the Portuguese and suggests trading in palm oil production instead. Nanisika, being fictional, the confrontation did not take place. Smithsonian wrote, though Gizo did at one point explore palm oil production as an alternative source of revenue, it proved far less lucrative, and the king soon resumed Dahomey's participation in slave trade. So, what that tells me is this movie is a fictional depiction of what the woke thinks of Africa, and it is not based on true events. But, of course, with its inaccurate and false claims of true events, they still get a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 99% by the audience, which I think is botted to hell, because no movie gets a 99% by the audience and a 95% by the actual critics. It's usually like a 20% by the actual critics and a 99% by the actual audience, or vice versa there. Now, try not to be too mean here, okay? It is true that the Dahomey military was an all-women military, and according to National Geographic, the warriors of the Western African kingdom were formidable and female. In the 17th century, Dahomey flourished under the protection of its all-women military regiment that inspired Viola Davis's acclaimed film, The Woman King. But we look deeper. The Dahomey were not just slavers, but believers of large-scale human sacrifice. Let's bring this up here. A look at Dahomey's gory history of human sacrifice on a large scale. Dahomey was once known as a slave coast where human sacrifices were done on a large scale, contrary to early write-ups by the Europeans in the 1700s about this great kingdom that referred to one or two killing of people. For instance, references made of Alada and Wayada, which I think are other tribes, before their conquest by the Dahomey, talks of human sacrifice without much detail or emphasis. Dapper refers to the killing of concubines and servants at royal funerals in Alada, and later accounts of Waida record the sacrifice of wives and slaves at royal funerals there also, as well as the practice of substitutionary, I don't know if I said that word right, sacrifice, the killing of a man to preserve the king when ill. An English trader in 1727 allegedly witnessed the massacre of 400 war captives in Dahomey ceremony. Some say his reports stated 4,000 human sacrifices instead, after the kingdom's conquest of Waidia earlier that year. So, the movie not only leaves out human sacrifice, but it pushes the message that the Dahomey was a force to be reckoned with, which is wrong. Business Insider writes, swift defeat. Another exaggerated narrative in the movie is the fact that the Agoji put up a fierce resistance against the foreign invaders. According to recorded history, this is far from the fact, as the Agoji were noted to have been defeated swiftly in a matter of hours by the French military. 6,000 of their forces were reduced to about 1,200 after that war. Jesus. Jesus, dude. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. And that's what Hollywood does best, right? They push lies to the American people, knowing the meek will just accept whatever they say as truth. And that was what's the pop in pop culture.